You've eaten Gotham's wealth, its spirit, but your feast is nearly over.
This is not my home. It's an operating table. And I'm the surgeon. Why aren't you laughing?
From this moment on, none of you are safe.
Welcome to the Batman Book Club, a podcast exploring the Dark Knight Library. I'm your host, Ryan Lauer. The Batman Book Club is a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network, hosted by Batman on Film. Just go to batmanonfilm.com, click on the podcast link, and you'll see a whole list of other Bat-related shows that also love to dive into other nerdy subjects we all love to frolic about in our free time. The Batman Book Club is also on Patreon. If you like what you hear with the show and you want to help support the show to keep the Wayne Manor Study generators going, you can do that at patreon.com/thebatmanbc. And a huge shout out to a new supporter, Lee Ankrit. Lee, thank you so much for helping support the Batman Book Club. Now, thank you for listening to episode number 86, Gotham by Gaslight. Now, joining me is the editor-in-chief of Batman on Film. He's also the gumbo guru of Texas. It's Mr. Bill Jet Ramey. Bill, welcome back to the Batman Book Club.
Hey now, how are you?
Oh, it's been a while. I've done social hours with you, and I haven't heard a good hey now in a while.
Yes, we do social hours. It's been what's the last book club I've done with you?
Last one was Joker's Five-Way Revenge.
Joker's Five-Way Revenge, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a good one.
So,
and then before that was Detective number 27.
Yep. Michael by
your friend
Michael Uslan. Yes.
Mr.
Michael
U.
Uslan.
And then before that was wow, this is the fourth time already. Because the first one was oh my gosh, I remember recording it with you, but I'm going blank.
I am too.
Oh, Batman 100 or not 100.
Batman 100. Yes. Yeah.
Year 100. There we go.
Year 100. Yep.
All right, you got a nice list going here.
Some good books. Some of my favorites.
Some good ones. Before we dive into this one, you said good books. What's some Batman that you've been reading lately?
Batman the Imposter was fantastic. Read the third and final issue. It's not out yet. I believe that's out next Tuesday, the 14th.
Yep.
Because I was looking to read it again. I couldn't find it. I had to go, hey, what date was that again? Because I wanted to read it one more time. That was just great, you know. And like I said, it's the closest comic book thing that DC is going to put out to the Batman, because they're not doing a comic book adaptation. But the Imposter is fantastic. Anybody listening, I highly recommend it. Get it when it comes out. It comes out right. Ironically, I mean, come on now. Like this was planned. It comes out right before the Batman comes out. It comes out in February. The Batman comes out on March 4th. The Imposter, the hardcover collected edition, comes out right before that in late February. So reading that, I read the new Batman, which your review is up on Batman on Film. I had stopped reading it for the last, probably I missed 6-8 issues, at least 6. During that whole Fear State storyline, it just lost me, and I enjoyed reading the new one. I believe 118.
Yep.
And with the new creative team, not a huge fan of. I wasn't a big fan of the Batman Inc. period, and this story kind of is going that direction, but it's different than what Grant Morrison was doing, I think. So. If it's just one story telling this, Batman, he's out of Gotham, and if it's just one thing and he comes back, okay, I'm cool with that. I don't want Batman globetrotting for the next 10 years in the flagship title. So those
there you go.
Batman 89, number 4.
Okay.
I read the latest one of that. I'll just plug my review. It's up on Batman on Film. So those are the what's come up in my mind right off the bat. I just started the One Dark Night.
Yeah.
by
So
Jock. Yeah.
right when The Imposter ends, we've got a new 3-issue Black Label series in that
Yeah.
oversized format, which I love that format, the
Yes.
magazine format and stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited to dive into that one too. Batman 118 was, I don't know if it's just, I like to be positive. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's just because I haven't enjoyed Batman in quite a long time,
Hmm.
that in this one, I said all I needed was just for it to be okay, and I would be relieved. And
Okay.
I loved it. I just flat out loved it. I think it was a great start. I thought I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's just Batman moments that they showed here.
The vibe is completely different from
Yes.
where Batman had ended up the last year, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. The last year, like right
Yeah.
after Joker War ended, which was last
Yeah.
November. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
and yeah, the center action piece in this issue I thought was really fun.
Hmm.
The Batman Inc. I'm parts of that I really liked. Other parts I was kind of like, but with this story, I kind of like it's an interesting concept, I think, and it's gonna take
I do
Batman.
yeah. I like the historical,
Sure.
the League of Batman things with El Gaucho and
Mm-hmm.
some of the others that Knight and Squire. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just that whole premise of Batman Inc. where Bruce Wayne's funding, comes out. I've been funding Batman and all this, and Batman's this like this crime fighting conglomerate worldwide. I like my Batman local and Gotham,
Status quo Batman.
and street level and gritty and grounded, and
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
you know what I'm saying.
I'm with you. I hear
Yeah.
you. And I think that this one will just be a little different because it's basically a murder mystery Batman's solving.
Yes.
Which will make it different than what we read with Batman Inc. before. But I mean, we'll see. And it's only 4 issues, which makes it a nice small arc. So
yeah, I do like the Batman Inc. Batman bat suit.
Yeah,
I do like that suit. So
that yellow oval was showing up.
There's not too. I'm actually even though I grew up with the yellow oval, I'm the big bat across the chest,
Bat across
preference guy. Is that
gotcha?
If that makes any sense?
It does.
I like that.
I don't know that I can pick a favorite.
Yeah.
I've got the yellow oval on stuff all over the place, but yeah, I like just the black on material. But let's move along now to
all right.
Story you chose, Batman Gotham by Gaslight. Written by Brian Augustyn, illustrated by Mike Mignola. It was released in 1989 in a regular or a prestige format. It did not have Elseworlds printed on it, but many classify this as the first DC Elseworlds story. It's been since released, collected in a trade with its sequel, Master of the Future.
Mm-hmm.
It's been collected recently. They released a hardcover deluxe edition that had those 2 stories, plus some other DC stories where the Gotham by Gaslight Batman pops up. It's been collected and released in their Noir edition. It's available digitally. Bill, you've shown me, because we're looking at each other talking, but why don't you tell the good folks which version you grabbed to read?
I have a first printing original that I bought. I bought this in 1989. I did not buy it off of eBay, or I didn't go to the comic shop and get a used copy. And the story behind it is, and if you followed Batman on film, and if you know anything about my story, there was a period when I was in high school and college that I kept my Batman fandom secret.
I've heard a lot of people say this from back in the day. Apparently, it wasn't popular.
I am not the only one. I mean, it's just completely different nowadays, where it is actually quote unquote cool, to like Batman and all this comic book stuff. So, I mean, it wasn't like that when I was growing up. And anyway, of course, Batman 89 came out in 1989, and that was like the turning point, really, of Batman being extremely cool in the mainstream, in the pop culture world. And so I ventured back into the comic book shop right prior to Batman 89 coming out. I used to read comics. I'd go to the mall and go to Walden Books and stand there and pull them off the rack and read them and put them back. And I went to the comic book shop because of Batman 89 and bought a bunch of stuff that I had missed during the 80s. And this was one of them, Gotham by Gaslight. And I just remember being really struck by the fact that it was Batman in a different. It's a very traditional, very Batman-y Batman story, but it's set in Victorian era of history in Gotham City, which was I had never seen anything like that with Batman. The closest that I'd seen to Batman being different than just the regular comic books that come out was Dark Knight Returns, but that was still contemporary, this one. Yeah. And like you said, there wasn't no Elseworlds title then. And this, is historically considered the first Elseworlds title. And it's one of my favorite Batman stories. And I spent years wanting to see an animated adaptation of it and finally got that, which was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, does that have a green border around it on the cover?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I've seen pictures of that, but I mean, and I'm showing you now, and I'm sure you've seen before, like they've redid it to where it's black. And then you've even got whatever that box around a tail of the Batman above the Gotham by Gaslight too.
That's what it's labeled, a Tale of the Batman.
And they changed that up too on the trade that they further released. And I mean, I think that's just the number one indicator to me always of like, oh, that's the real deal when it's got that across the top and it's green.
I mean, I think looking back, when you see, Gotham by Gaslight and you see Batman in this strange but familiar costume, they're kind of like reminding people this is a Batman story, even though it may not look like what you're used to. So yeah, it's one of my favorites, man.
Nice. Well, the version I got, I mean, it showed, I think the copyright of it was that it was printed in 2006. The version I have, but I mean, it's the soft trade paperback that collects both stories that a lot of people are familiar with. And I think you just kind of answered it of the first. When was the first time that you read Gotham by Gaslight?
Summer of 89.
Summer of 89. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think mine was definitely, I mean, when did I get this? Maybe 2007, 2008. So I was a little behind, but that was
okay.
That's when I started, I was in college, I was working and I had some money. I was going to the comic shop because I was finally living around comic shops and basically buying any book that I could afford that was Batman. And I mean, on the back of this, it was $12.99. So for a college kid, $12.99 is like, oh, I can afford that,
Yeah.
Now, I think you've mentioned this one before, but when I asked if you'd like to return, and you said yes, why did you choose Gotham by Gaslight?
It's one of, as I said, it's one of my favorite Batman stories, period. It's in my top 5 for sure. And that's the main reason. I enjoy talking about it. It's not, and I like talking about things that are stories that that I love that are sometimes maybe considered obscure. Like when we talked about Batman 251, everyone knows the cover,
Yeah.
It's maybe, gosh, is it the most famous Batman cover of all time? It's one of them for sure, right?
I'd say, I mean, aside from Detective 27 and Batman #1.
Yeah.
Then maybe Joker's 5-Way, but I mean, maybe that's a trifecta. I mean, I think you could argue for each one's case of those are those to me. I mean, I'm not Mr. Yu who wrote an article for Batman on Film and said, I think his top 5 are, but I would definitely argue that that's definitely one of the most popular covers.
Yeah. It's just, but a lot of people hadn't read the story, The Joker's 5-Way Revenge. They know the cover. I'm a Batman fan. Have you read The Joker's 5-Way Revenge? Huh? It
Oh,
look.
I know that
This is the-
cover.
this-
No.
Exactly, exactly. So I think with Gotham by Gaslight is a pretty well read Batman story, though.
I feel like it's highly
And
regarded a lot too.
it is.
People always
Yes.
have positive things to say about it.
Yeah. So I mean, this is one of my favorites, and it's not an obscure. It's not. Um, it's a lot of people have read it. So I mean, I'm not. If you're listening to this, you probably read it.
Yeah.
But if you haven't, I'm convince you very very quickly
Go read it.
to go out and go read it. Yeah.
And we're going to spoil it. So if you
Yeah.
haven't read it and you don't want it spoiled, go read
Yeah.
it. It's a quick read.
Yeah.
It's like 48 pages, and
it
then
came
come
out.
back and listen.
It's been almost 33 years. I think. Okay. I think you've had plenty of time to read it. So yeah, we're going to spoil it. Go.
Spoil the hell out of it. So, I was telling you beforehand, for some reason, because I don't know the last time that I read this story. It
Mhm.
probably was when the animated movie came out. Because of course, when you want to read and compare and contrast the animated adaptation with the source material. But before that, I don't know the last time that I read this, and I don't know why I thought that the whole book, my whole trade here, was all Gotham by Gaslight. And then when I opened it and I looked, I'm like, oh wait, it's kind of split in half. So, oh wow, the Gotham by Gaslight is even shorter than I remembered. So then I was wondering how much story that they fit in, and I think the story in 48 pages, like, it moves pretty well, and I think the pacing is right on. It's mostly dialogue. There's not a ton of inner dialogue going and explanation, kind of narration and stuff. And I, like you said, a Victorian era of Gotham. I think that is a great setting for a Gotham story. So
Absolutely, yeah.
The idea in the recently released deluxe edition, Brian Augustyn wrote a quick introduction on. He and Mark Waid basically came up with the idea of Gotham by Gaslight, because Waid had been doing the secret origins for characters, and they had to come up with an idea for an annual, and somehow they came up with different time period Gotham, but same Batman. And they felt like the Victorian era of it. And I don't know when in that seed that they were like, what if Jack the Ripper, the idea of Jack the Ripper to me is kind of fascinating because of all of the different theories and the fact that it was never caught, the list of suspects, the arguments for suspects, and all of that. And I think that the paranoia and kind of like how the scary environment you would feel at that time period. And so to bring that into Gotham, and then you have Batman hunting down that serial killer, I think that's just an awesome concept, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we also get a resolution too. I mean, if they left it open-ended, I don't know, that'd be a totally different story. But I mean, it tracks too that Batman, I mean, he goes not as hardcore detective in the story, but I mean, he does put two and two together and ultimately deduces,
And what's so great about it also is, I mean, you could take this story and it could be in the pages of a Batman comic book with modern setting, just change the Jack the Ripper. It could be a serial killer. He's still, I mean, it just shows you how grounded Batman is. We get lost. I think the movies have added to this, that Batman is just this dude with all these gadgets and stuff and technology. But Batman is really great, really, when you take a lot of that away. And it's one of the things, in the modern comics, today's comics, I'm sure it'll change at some point. But, Batman, Bruce Wayne being stripped of his wealth and Batman being very street level and having to be like, go back to his roots, if you will,
Yeah.
It's just the gadgets and stuff get a little bit, it's kind of a crutch, sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, I like that, of course, when I see, the Dark Knight, he's got the tumbler and then the bat pod bursts out of the tumbler,
Mhm.
and then using the sonar, creating that as a tool, and all of that it can be fun and it's cool, but it's also great to see you can strip that away and the core of the character is still there. You
Yes.
take
Yeah.
1889 Batman in Gotham.
Mhm.
He doesn't have any of that stuff because it wasn't even created at the time, and
Yeah.
he's just using his mind and his strength, and he's still Batman.
Yeah.
And I love that as one of the the quick 2-page montage that they have in this story that is just showing him basically just kicking ass and catching up to speed to show time is passing. The myth
Mhm.
of Batman is spreading around Gotham in the old papers, in the old Gotham Guardian. But
Mhm.
yeah, the grounded Batman, which I mean, it's a discussion more for Batman on film than in the Batman book club, but the grounded approach, some pushback on that is that we've already seen that. We should go to the more fantastical. Others love much more grounded. I think for me, especially in this story, if what do you want to say? If the serial killer actually ended up being a man bat and spreads his wings and Batman then fights a monster, it would take away a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's a comic book, but
Oh,
now it's getting
yeah.
a little bit silly.
Yeah.
We've got
Yeah.
such a street level murder in a time period also, and I know I just keep talking about the time period. It's like there creates so many restrictions too, to where you have to just center on the core of the character of Batman, because
Mhm.
can't go on the internet and look up whatever, can't bug whatever. It's just you got to deal with the evidence that's presented to you. So I think I've said enough about the time period. So let's talk about Batman Bruce Wayne himself. What did you think ultimately when, I mean, because we see it a little bit in silhouette on the cover, but what did you think of his suit?
And I have to admit, going back into my 1989 brain,
Yeah.
it kind of took me aback because you had this. Oh gosh, even then I mean, Batman had looked basically the same
Uh-huh.
for forever without any huge comic book changes,
Mm-hmm.
and just and then I was just drawn to the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
That it clearly something he made. I like, my favorite, one of my favorite scenes is when Bruce Wayne first comes back to the manor and he meets Alfred, and he says, "Is it still here, Alfred?" And Alfred says, "It's been waiting for you." And you just see the suit, hang,
Yeah.
I guess, on a mannequin or whatever. And then after that, we start seeing Batman doing Batman shit in Gotham. So yeah, I mean, I really like it. I mean, I've come to love it. I've got a what I want to call it. I don't want to call it a toy, an action figure.
An action figure. There you
Okay.
go.
I have the Gotham by Gaslight action figure. I'm not sure which the manufacturer of it, but
Was that
I have
Mattel?
that.
Is it in the blue
Might have been.
package?
That is one of the few that I have actually taken out of the box and
Bill,
have on
it
display.
lost all of its
Yes.
value.
Most of them I keep in the box, and I mean, I know like people have given me, take those things out of the box, but I have a hard time doing that with, especially with these McFarlanes, which I really like a lot. But I get into it, I'm gonna get off on a whole new tangent. But yeah,
Well,
I like the
sometimes
suit.
in the
Yeah.
package itself, it actually looks cool in the
Yeah.
package with the
I
designer
like,
on the package.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I get
So but yeah, I like it. I like the high collar. I like I like the cape.
that. Mm-hmm.
It's more or less become, it's like one of those old Victorian era, high collar
Yeah.
jackets they wore back then.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, 70s Elvis would have really loved that cape / jacket
Oh
as
my gosh,
well.
what's it? I'm going blank. It reminds me instantly as if he's got, in football.
A neck roll.
Yeah, something similar to that. Which I
Yeah.
know. I mean the Batman. I mean, it looks that little part
Yeah.
there is similar,
When-
seems similar,
when
and that's what I always think of here.
the first time, that first shot of Robert Pattinson, with the camera test, quote unquote, that we saw.
Uh-huh.
What was that? That was like 5 years ago, wasn't it?
It was. I think I was in my 20s when that first came out.
And I saw the collar. That's what it reminded me. I said, okay, that's a little Gotham by Gaslighty, maybe a little nod, but it's clearly something. I thought of a neck roll in football because, I was a football coach and I played football. And I was thinking that's something probably that he constructed in the suit to help protect him, from having his freaking neck broke going backwards, so.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, I haven't come across it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I think the criticism of it would be with the eye holes, because they do seem quite large. And he doesn't do the makeup, and it's not white lensed, but what do I want to say? And which that's actually commented on in the Master of the Future story, but in this one, it's like he's in shadows, and he's not, when he's too close. It's because he's beating ass, so nobody's really been like, "Hey, your eyes are blue."
It looks like he could have took some coal dust and
that's
rubbed
true.
Rubbed it around his eyes.
God, this book sucks.
Yeah,
they didn't get the design right.
But hell, looking at it now, because I took it out yesterday and reread it a couple times. Man, that cowl looks a bit like the Batman cowl, doesn't it?
Okay, so there's in that whole montage part, and you get a close up.
Yeah,
most of his face is in shadow, but you even see stitching up around the forehead of the suit.
Yes.
And that, what's that look like?
Yeah,
contemporary times,
Yeah.
So in moving with the story, I think it's also kind of fun for the little nods in which, the first time we see Bruce, he's talking to Sigmund Freud. That's just like, that's interesting. That's Brian Augustine doing his, his research on the time period and making that work. I love when Bruce gets to Gotham and he's talking to Gordon, and he talks about the loon who took some of his own poison, and then they gives the mug shot, and it's the Joker.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun. Which that part for me, for some reason, made me think, like, that page, I don't know if it's the coloring and the design, it made me think of Uslan's Detective Number 27.
Yes. Yeah.
The vibe, the art, the coloring and stuff just made me think of that, which is pretty cool.
I like happy looking Jasper, eh? It's just
the language.
Yeah.
The language fund. Happy looking Jasper, eh?
Yeah.
Let's see. So the mystery of we're talking almost 33 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember by any way of who the identity of the killer is?
I do.
But when you read it, were you able to figure it out before it was revealed?
I got you.
Yeah, I asked that wrong.
I got you. No, I did not. I think, I think that I know that I didn't read it or I might have thumbed through it, but I didn't do any read.
Sure. Yeah.
At the comic book shop. So I got to read it from square one. No spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
And so, no, I don't remember thinking, oh, I know who this is, well before.
You know it well enough now that when you just reread it for this discussion, you remembered. Because we'll get to it and comment on how the movie took some liberties itself. But I thought in rereading it this time, it kind of felt it can't be anybody else before the reveal, even if. I do appreciate and enjoy the fact they peg Bruce Wayne because you line it up, it does look very suspect that, hey, Bruce, while you were over in London, there were 5 killings. You left, they stopped. Oh, now similar style killings are happening in Gotham, and you're in Gotham. Well, it just makes total sense that this was Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
But it's actually, spoiler, Uncle Jacob. Wait, Uncle Jack.
Yes.
Jack, not Jacob. Uncle Jack. Which, I mean, it adds up.
Yeah.
In the lore of Batman, have you ever come across an Uncle Jack?
No.
Okay, I don't think so either. And it's interesting, and we get Jack the Rippers. Well, then there you go, Jack the Ripper. It's in the title.
You look back in hindsight, in retrospect, and go, "Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I see all this." But reading it, I don't remember going. I remember just being at the end going, "Okay." Maybe it didn't. Maybe it wasn't like this huge, big ass, huge twist that just never saw. You can say, "Oh, I never saw that coming." But yeah, I mean, I guess because I'm also a I don't want to call it. I'm a fan of it, but I'm interested in the whole Jack the Ripper, story, and I've watched documentaries and read books, and I've I even watched I've read From Hell and saw the movie and everything. But anyway, I guess the fact that I was maybe I was expecting it to the killer to be one of the actual suspects from history to show up at the end.
Yeah,
that added to the and I'm again looking back. I mean, Bruce and Uncle Jack weren't the only 2 damn people on that ship coming back from Gotham, from London anyway. So,
Well, and they played up a little bit too of, and I forget the wording, but kind of, Bruce is a young, rich man. He's into some weird shit. He's probably weird. That they use that as without their evidence. It's just, he was over there at the time. He's over here at the time. He's probably into some weird stuff, but I like, we get a nice Harvey Dent name drop when Bruce is on trial. That goes pretty fast.
Yes.
But I mean, we get an Arkham Asylum, and Bruce is in Arkham. I like the old bait and switch with him and Alfred.
Yeah.
But I like the way that Bruce puts it together is, it's a fun history right up your alley. But doing looking back through history as Bruce is looking at some old pictures and realizes the symbol during a Civil War picture, and the symbol that's on one of the flags, and then that symbol was on one of the murder knives there in Gotham, and so then he just started piecing it together, and we find out old Uncle Jack is the Ripper, and his motivations are jealousy. Oh, Thomas Wayne, and he hired this Elseworlds version of Joe Chill. But then he's a little kooky too, though, because I actually, reading it this time, I think when he first arrived in Gotham, and when Jack did, but you're getting like the city tour, and you're reading like some narration and stuff, some inner thoughts. I thought that was Batman, and at first I was reading that in the sense of like, it's Batman and the city's calling for him to take up the suit and all of that. And then I think I got like a page or 2 later, and I was like, wait, that doesn't add up. So then I went back and read it, and like, oh, this is from the perspective of Jack the Ripper. And that made a lot more sense. But he's got like almost this, you think that he's referring to Gotham as, the she and the her. But then you see in his revelation of his motivations, like, oh, no, this is Martha.
Mm-hmm.
Because Martha's laughing at him and the laughter, and he
Yeah.
can't get to stop. And I think
Yeah.
once you get that mindset and you go back and read some of this stuff, it's chilling, it's interesting, it's well done by Augustine.
It's something, even though you read it the first time and you know the villain, the identity of Jack the Ripper, you go back and read it, and it's not like you miss things, but you kind of go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, it's there's more to the story. It's more interwoven, and there's hints and little things all along the way that you don't think about because you don't know the outcome. But once you know the outcome, you go back, and that's what makes it, I think, sometimes for me at least, it's always been fun to pick it up. I don't know, once a year or something, and read it.
Which is surprising because as I said, it's a story that I feel goes quick. It's a quick story. I don't think it's too deep. Like you mentioned imposter towards the beginning of the episode, and you compare one of those 48-page issues to Gotham by Gaslight, and it's very the depth is much different. But like you said too, you kind of pick up on things, and you're feeling how it's interconnected, and I mean, it's really well done. Which I don't think that's hyperbole.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's really well done. There's a review for the back of the book, the next trade. It's really well done.
It's good. It's kind of good.
Yeah, it's kind of good. Okay, Batman story. I mean, is there any other points you want to touch up on? I think it's poetic also that they end up at the Wayne tombstone.
Yeah.
And that's where he meets his demise. I think Mignola does a really cool, great job of, he puts Batman in shadows a lot.
Yes.
In a lot of this, at least half covered. The big chase at the end, a lot of him is, his head's in silhouette, or we have his, I don't know. It keeps him effective of really playing with shadow, I think.
Yes, it is. And I love the final page,
Yes.
It's, I mean, without, I guess it's God. I want to say it's kind of Batman Begins Joker card, but there's no Joker card. It's kind of like it's their way of saying that the story continues. It goes on.
Batman on a gargoyle. Give me Batman, that all the time.
This wasn't the end of this Batman, and there's more Batman. More of this Batman in the future. Of course, there's the sequel. Hell, I wouldn't mind if they did another one at some point, but
that one. So I like that one. I don't think it's anywhere near the first, but it's always very fuzzy in my mind. Master of the Future, and I don't know. It doesn't hit as well. But I mean the artist on that one. Oh, let me see, what was his name? Eduardo Barreto. He took note, I think, of what worked with Batman and how Mignola did it, and he does a lot of pieces of Batman in shadow too. Because I mean, I think if you just flat out go, if you put this suit, a lit room, fully colored, no shadow, I think that you could almost nitpick it to death. So by definitely keeping parts of it covered and not fully revealed helps in the mystique of Batman. This play off the intimidation of this style and everything. So,
the shadows also, it keeps the primitive construction of the suit limited,
Yeah.
And it's more of just the silhouette Batman that we know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still like the suit, so the suit never bothered me. So
You like the suit so much, you took the figure out of the box.
I
So.
did exactly. That says a lot right there.
You're wild, Bill. You're getting
Yeah.
crazy.
I was getting a little crazy there. You're right.
Well, let's hop into some favorites then.
Okay.
Do you have? No, let's not say do you have. What is your favorite part of Gotham by Gaslight?
Oh, I like the ending, the confrontation at the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, bastard, and
Yeah.
leave me alone. Batman chasing, and it's just really, I really like it. I'd probably say that the finale is
Mm-hmm.
my favorite. I liked, and I was hell, I like the beginning where I mentioned it earlier with Bruce returns and he asks Alfred, "Is it still here?" And it's been waiting for you. I really like that as well.
Yeah.
Hell, I like the whole damn thing.
How about the whole thing?
The whole thing. That's
Whole
it.
thing's a
The whole
favorite
thing.
part.
Yeah.
I think mine is that 2-page spread that's just like a montage of Batman taking down criminals.
Mm-hmm.
The myth is spreading, the legend is born. I really like that part.
Mm-hmm.
For a bunch of different reasons. How about a favorite panel?
Oh,
Yeah.
I like the last one.
The very
The
last
final
one on the
page.
gargoyle.
Yeah. And that's tough. I like. I mean, the
You
cover.
like the whole damn thing.
The cover is awesome. It's
Yeah.
it's similar to that final page, but yeah.
I'm kind of torn. I like where, let's see, in my trade it'd be page 35. Basically when the Jack the Ripper is gonna get his last intended victim, and he says,
Mhm.
"Oh my God!" and you see Batman
Yeah.
standing there in the alley.
Yeah,
I really
was
like
looking
that
at
one.
it. Yeah,
Yep, that's it.
yeah.
And then the next page you turn and Batman's swinging, and Jack's like, "Leave me alone, leave me alone."
Mm-hmm.
I like both of those a lot
Yeah.
because it's kind of as it should be. Batman's not saying anything; just his presence has
Mm-hmm.
the bad guy freaking out, scared
Yes.
shitless. It's so I love both of those panels. I think you've already said it now, but let's repeat. What did you feel about, or how did you feel about the animated adaptation?
I was not disappointed.
Yeah.
I like it quite a bit. It's one of my favorites. I did not have issue with the liberties taken. I mean, it's an adaptation. We talked about, you and I talked about with, on, gotta look up here, Long Halloween films with Tim Sheridan, the writer,
Yeah.
that the Long Halloween animated films, soon to be film, is an adaptation of the graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to go and they made changes. I prefer when they do that, when they take Gotham by Gaslight, or Long Halloween, and they adapt it and make it if it's its own, and it's just a different version of this, and it's inspired by the original story.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a little bit better. I prefer that, I guess I should say, over the year one, the Dark Knight Returns, even though I love the Dark Knight Returns animated film, and I like year one quite a bit, because I mean, truth be told, you've read the comic book, what the hell, what it all is about. So I thought, it was one of the really good things about the animated film is that I was surprised at who Jack the Ripper was at the end. And that's a good thing,
Yeah.
I like that they inserted Selena Kyle, Catwoman, into the animated film. So, and they even had version of Robins, in it. So yeah, it's one of my favorites of the adaptations.
I think
sure.
it's definitely one of their strongest efforts for
Mhm.
sure. I really liked it. The style really reminded me of a darker version of the Batman animated series.
Mhm.
Uh, Inserting all the fun nods. And Poison Ivy ended up like, sadly, she's the first victim in the movie of
Yes.
Jack the
Yeah.
Ripper. And yeah, like you said, Selena, I thought the Selena Kyle was awesome in that movie. I thought the Bruce Greenwood reprising the role of the voice of
Mhm.
Bruce Wayne, I thought he was awesome. I thought the movie, yeah, and the vibe. I think the vibe of the movie too, and all of that. I thought it was a really good adaptation. And like you said too, it kept the Gotham by Gaslight story in spirit, but just did its own
Mhm.
merging of Master of the Universe as well with the
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
the World Fair. There you go, like the World's Fair and the blimp and stuff like
Yeah.
that. They used that, and so yeah, I thought it was really really well done um, movie, and urge definitely to just continue to do that for future projects.
If you can get, I think those who go, it, you can't get hung up on the liberties they took with who the killer was. I
Yeah.
mean, I think one of the really good things about it is that I was surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was surprised,
Yep.
and maybe in hindsight, retrospect, I was maybe a little bit more surprised with that than when I read the graphic novel. Back in the day. So
I think
yeah,
so
yeah,
for sure. I think that's
yeah.
valid. It's yeah. In case somebody hasn't watched the movie yet, I won't give that part up, but go watch
Yeah.
that movie. Do you have any kind of final thoughts on Gotham by Gaslight? Anything you haven't said?
I guess I would say that um it is. I think it's a classic for sure. It started the whole Elseworlds run, so it's historically important. It it may be the best of the Elseworlds in my opinion. There's some good ones. It's really good. It's a great Batman story, and I believe this Batman still exists on one of the DC Earths. Am I right when I say that?
You're
I'm not
correct.
sure. I'm not sure all of the numbering of these different
No, and I looked
Earths
it
with
up, and
DC now.
I
Yeah.
should have written it down because I did look it up, and they'd said later on, I don't know who they are in this instance, but it's been determined, maybe it's somebody editor at DC or something like that, and they said this
They.
is Earth 19. You know how it's always said around of like, well, they say it's going to be a hard winter. Well,
Yeah.
they say it. It's always that it's their scapegoat of like, oh, we don't really know. We just kind of heard through the grapevine.
I think it's the people that are on top of the rock of eternity.
That's right.
That's who they is.
Yeah. So
You know.
them up there, they're saying this is Earth something. So it
Yeah,
exists.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I echo everything that you said. I think it's a great Elseworld story, taking Batman, putting him in another time period that, what would Batman be like in this time period? And it's, he would work. He would be awesome. Down at his core, he'd be
Mm-hmm.
the same person and he'd be kicking ass. So,
Yeah.
I really enjoy Gotham by Gaslight. Now, before we wrap up, I've got a couple more things for you. After each episode, I'd like to put a poll up on the Twitter feed.
Mm-hmm.
The last one was asking everybody what their favorite Batman book of November was. Bill, I could probably know what you'd have said here, but the options were Batman the Imposter #2, Robin and Batman #1, Batman the Detective #6, and then the most recent issue of Detective Comics. 54% of people who voted said the Imposter #2.
Okay.
That's what I voted.
I think I voted that one.
Yeah, I would have guessed that you would have voted that one as well.
I think I voted. I think that's the way I voted in that poll. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a tough poll this month for the favorite issue of December. But the question I'm going to ask
Okay.
for this episode is, which revelation of Jack the Ripper worked better for you? The comic or the movie?
That's tough.
Yeah. Would you know what you'd answer right now? Because I don't.
If I'm basing it, can I say?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. I'll go with what first popped in my mind.
Okay.
And that is from the film, because it shocked me more than the comic book revelation.
I think that's what I'm going to vote too.
Okay.
Because it was.
And there's
it was
something there's something to say for being surprised, right?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, if that's what
Something-
you went instant like that was to the movie, that means that left an impression on you. So
yeah, because it's like, it's like, here's a hint or a recommendation to all the millions of people listening right now.
that's right.
Do not seek out all the information you can about a movie or anything else that you're going to either watch or read or listen to for entertainment purposes, because it'll be a lot better if you go in not knowing very much about it,
Then backtrack and see if certain things, they were talking around this or they were hinting at this. And then it becomes really fun to play a detective yourself and go back and see all the little breadcrumbs sprinkled.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And then finally, last part, Bill.
Yeah.
We heard from some of the fans. We've got some questions.
Let's see what other Batman fanboys think.
First up, Javi, our boy Javi, Batman on Film. He asked, who would you cast as a live-action Gotham by Gaslight Batman?
Man.
Ooh.
So if I say Robert Pattinson, is that a cop-out?
No, it's that.
Okay,
that to me sounds like an answer.
here's how I answer that when people ask me about who would you cast as this. Give me an actor. Give me a good actor first.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me a good actor. Hell, give me someone that makes me kind of do a double take. Keaton, Pattinson, all of them you can name. Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Because I'll take the good actor over the aesthetic any day. Is that good enough of an answer?
That's a much better answer than I've got because I don't have one.
Okay.
I could have, because I'm just not good with actors casting, much anymore. And I mean, sadly, I would have said maybe Armie Hammer, but he really fell off the rails there. I'd almost say
I'll give you a name just for the sake of it, and it's not going to happen, so it's not like this is on my wish list.
Yeah,
but a 30-ish year old Jude Law.
Nice. Okay, got it. I'd have said almost maybe a mid-30s Bruce Greenwood even.
Yeah.
Because he could handle it.
Because I think Jude Law is a good actor.
Yeah.
And I can see I know it's the United States. I know Gotham's in the United States and the story's in the United States. But being in Victorian era, some reason when I read this, they all have some sort of slight British accent in my head. So I'll pick a British actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That works.
But I'll officially, my answer is give me a good actor.
Yeah, always start with the actor. So,
okay,
Javi, thanks for the question. And then our final question, second question, is from Austin, and he asked, if you could create your own Batman story as a one-shot, one, who would you have do the art and colors, etc., and two, what's that story about? And who's the villain? I'll go first because mine is instant ready.
Okay,
Lieber Mayhill.
Okay.
Give me another Batman Noel-ish story of a one-shot by Lee. He controls the coloring. He draws it. If he wants to write it, go for it. But
Okay.
I'll take more Lieber Mayhew all day, every day. And then the story, because we don't have enough, and ironically enough, he's the villain in the next movie. I would want a Riddler story. We don't have the definitive Riddler comic book story. I don't think. I think he's a little underutilized. Even. I think you can point out for a lot of the rogues. Joker has a handful of them. Penguin has one. There's some Catwoman stories, but give us a Riddler story in the sense of. And I've always said, did you ever see David Fincher's The Game?
Mm-hmm.
I thought
Long ago, yeah.
the look of Seven with a plot like The Game, I feel like that would be a good Batman Riddler story. Where it's almost Riddler he told you at the beginning what he's going to, or, some kind of making you second guessing yourself and having to, a story like that drawn by Lieber Mayhew. Let's do it. Come on, Lee. I know you're listening.
Of course he is.
Of course.
Okay. I got something for you.
All right.
And I didn't have to, it came organically here.
All right.
Give me Matt Wagner writing and doing the art, and then taking the little short stories in Batman number 1, 1940 Batman number 1, and doing up to date combined story of that, kind of like he did with Batman the Monster Man and what am I?
Mad Monk.
Batman the Mad Monk, yeah. Do something, take Batman number 1 because it's first appearance of the Joker, first appearance of Catwoman. Do something, take that and combine it and do that. Matt Wagner, yeah. There you go.
Take my money.
Yeah.
I'll take that. That'd be great. Come on, DC. We're giving you ideas here.
Sure.
All right. Thanks for the question, Austin. And Bill, with that being said, let's put a bow on it. Thanks for coming back to the show.
Anytime.
You this one was a long time coming. It was one you mentioned long ago. So now, I mean, the invite's always there. You gotta go way back in the archives and think of another one now.
The ones that the ones that I've done are the ones that first came to my mind, when I was, so I gotta take a look at my library here and maybe something newer that's recent that people haven't
Fear State?
read. Oh, hell yeah.
You say that people haven't read, and I say Fear State?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh, geez. Anyways, I don't need to bash it. A lot of people like it. Good for them. Why don't you go ahead and plug away if people, for some reason, don't know where they can find you and follow you?
You can read anything I do or listen to anything I say via podcast or articles on Batman on Film, batman-on-film.com, headed into year 24.
Woo!
Is it 24 that's coming up? Yeah.
Daggum.
No. Yeah. 24. I got it. Yeah. Golly. And anyway, on Twitter, at Batman on Film. Just for the Batman on Film news feed, it's at the Batman on Film on Twitter. You can find me. You can find Batman on Film on Instagram at Batman on Film. If you have no F's left to give, go to tpublic.com/Batman on Film. There's some stuff there. You can sport or stick on your computer, sticker wise, whatever. And I think that's about it. Oh, Patreon. If you like the stuff we do on Batman on Film, patreon.com/Batman on Film. And I think that's it.
All right.
Everybody knows where to find me, I think.
For better or worse, right?
For better or worse. That's exactly right, as I was going to say.
Better or worse. You can find my postings. I've got quite a few of them up on Batman on Film for comic reviews, Lego reviews, interview with Lieber Mayhew, interview with Tim Sheridan that I did here with Bill and Micah Ramey. As for the Batman Book Club, you can follow on Twitter and Instagram at thebatmanbc for latest episodes, upcoming episodes, sometimes even some giveaways. You can also check out the Batman Book Club YouTube channel, where a recent posting was from Script to Screen, where we analyzed the adaptation of the Under the Hood story into Under the Red Hood movie. That was a good discussion. You can email with questions or comments at thebatmanbc@gmail.com. Like I said at the top of the show, you can go to patreon.com/thebatmanbc to help support the show if you'd like to. You can also, like Bill said, go to tpublic.com/thebatmanbc for some merchandise to support the show, like t-shirts, hoodies, notebooks, magnets, stickers, onesies for your young ones. But if you want to support the show and don't want to spend any money at all, that's 100% A-OK. You can do it by rating and reviewing the show on Apple Podcasts. A link to that page is in the description of this episode. The more reviews it gets, the more it helps spread the word. And as we all know, the word is panic. So, for Bill Ramey, I am Ryan Lauer, and until next time, read more Batman comics.